Say hello, sir.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes. Good to see you back, sir. And I hope the internet connection now stays stable. I was just letting the audience know what Women in Aviation is. We've been celebrating Girls in Aviation Day for the last 4 years now, where we call young, impressionable girls to the airport, talk to them, show them the various opportunities around, and hopes that they go back and choose aviation as a viable career. This organization was started by Mrs. Radha Bhatia, who is here with us today, and she is the president for Women in Aviation India chapter and also the chairperson for the Bird Group. And it is her vision and her, guidance that has led the group to come this far. Ma'am, over to you.
Thank you, Nupur. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Namaskar, Mr. Majitia, and thanks, Rupan, for organizing this event. What a pleasure it is to welcome Mr. Majitia, who was one of the veteran Indian Air Force pilots who served also the World War II. He fought are one person who served the British India and the independent India. What a great history. We are so proud of you and we are lucky to have you here today. We would definitely like to hear your experiences and your message to the younger generation. With this, I hand over the mic to Rupan to say a few words about and welcome Mr. Majitia.
Thank you, Radhaji. Good evening, audience. Today we have with us someone who's an avid golfer. He hit a hole-in-one just last year, an aviator, a fighter pilot, and India's oldest fighter pilot. His first training flight was as a 20-year-old, and during the Second World War, he fought on the Burma front flying a Hawker Hurricane aircraft. Later, he married a stunning Australian beauty and left Indian Air Force to manage his substantial land holdings and family business. But once an aviator, always an aviator. In 1949, he purchased 2 Beechcrafts and made history with first landing ever in Kathmandu Valley. I would like to welcome Sardar Dilip Singh Majitia.
We are waiting for the connectivity to revive.
Sir, would you like to say a few words to the audience?
I think the connection.
Yeah, I think it's the connection.
It will revive soon. Just wait.
He's logged off, I think.
I think these days Wi-Fi is giving a lot of problems.
Yes, everywhere. I think that's a universal problem. We'll just wait for a couple of seconds for him to come back live.
But in the meantime, let me tell you a little more about the Indian women in aviation.
Sure, ma'am.
There was this another stalwart, first Indian lady to get the license was Mrs. Sarla Thakral. Have you all heard about it? Born in Lahore, she took her first pilot license when she was 21 years old. Has he joined?
He's just joining.
So the story of women begins there, but unfortunately, it has not picked up so well. Now it is time for women to just stand up. You know, we come from a land of 9 goddesses, most powerful. So young girls, my recommendation to you is never shy, come up with your dreams and you will succeed. You must have heard about the new film which is being released. We just saw the trailer. And this was Mrs. Gunjan Saxena, the first Air Force pilot who landed in Kargil with her helicopter. Isn't that credible?
Yes, indeed.
And now there is a movie on her. Like the old movie Neerja, which was an air hostess who tried to save all lives, but unfortunately could not save her own. This is sacrifice. That way, there are a lot of stories. Everybody would have heard the name of Kalpana Chawla, Indian astronaut who went to the US and was joint NASA program and had gone to NASA for a couple of times, but in the last ship, unfortunately, she did not survive. We have another lady from India. You'll be surprised to know that India has the maximum pilots in private sector. In Air India, the ratio is 13%, whereas the global ratio is just 5 to 6%. Isn't it credible for the Indian women?
It's great for India, and that is great for Indian women.
So I'm proud to also say that probably Gunjan Saxena would be hearing us also. She was not sure, so she is going to be one of the next panelists to encourage you young girls. We normally used to go personally to various stations to inspire the girls to join carriers, aviation. You know, women are multitasked. They take care of the family, they take care of the house, they take care of the profession. Now this is an art which only the women can do. And I'm sure if you are planning to take up a career, you should not think that you have to give one against the other. No, you can take all careers and your profession and your responsibilities. If
I think Ma'am Gunjan has logged in. I did see her name. She is listening to us right now.
I can listen.
Thank you, Gunjan, for joining in. I'm sorry I couldn't take your call because I was just going live at that time.
No, that's fine, that's fine.
Gunjan, would you like to say a few words till the time Mr. Majitia joins in?
I think first I would like to say, ma'am, a very good evening to you, and it's my absolute honor to be here with you all on this panel. And I was just listening to the stories that you were telling, and I think some of them even I did not know, and it's so nice to listen to them. I really wish more, not only women, but everybody gets to hear these stories. And as you mentioned, the women in aviation in our country go back a long, long way. Just that, as you said, it really hasn't picked up very well. But I'm sure we are on the right track, and we will get there very soon. So I think, and your organization is doing exactly that for more and more women to get to know about the profession of aviation and the job opportunities that it offers to us. And I think it is a lifetime opportunity for me to be here on this panel today when we have Spolina Majitia also here. She's the legend, and it's just such an honor to be here on this webinar along with him. And thank you so much for it.
Well, actually, he was logged in much earlier, about 10 minutes earlier.
He
But then
has come back. He has come back. I think he's keeping his camera off, maybe because of the connection right now. Yeah, he's there. I'm sure he's listening to us right now. Yeah.
So
thank you so much, and we are looking forward for your movie as well.
Thank you so much.
It is, I think, 12th of August.
Day after tomorrow.
Day after tomorrow.
Yes.
So you must be really excited.
Yes,
right now.
very much. Really looking forward to how people respond to it and how it does. I mean, it's a wonderful journey.
Thank you. Mr. Maditya, we can see your name. I hope you can hear us clearly right now because the audience is waiting to hear from you, sir. Can you hear us, sir?
Thank you.
आपकी आवाज आ रही है मैम?
आपकी आवाज आ रही है? हमारी तरफ आपकी आवाज नहीं आ पा रही है क्लियरली.
I think he's little confused. He's little confused. I have him online with me, and they tried to connect. And I think in between he got us also. He could hear us. Let me just try it again with him.
Okay.
ये वीडियो हाजिर किया था इस अब आया मैम?
आपकी आवाज आ रही है. वीडियो नहीं आया है आपका, आपकी आवाज आ पा रही है हमारे पास.
Just continue with the sound then.
Yeah, we can continue with the sound then.
ठीक है.
hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Hanji. So I'll start with the questions. We have few questions for you, and we'd be very happy if you could give us a response.
Can
Can you hear me?
you?
So our first question would be that what inspired you to join Air Force as a pilot in 1942?
You see, I was BA and I was not waiting to go to Cambridge. I got admission in Cambridge. The war broke out and we stayed back and I asked about Air Force. We had an aircraft already with that time, first with Ghana, which are flights, which is Abani and Iraq, trained by Royal Air Force. So I thought also to join the Air Force. I was selected in Ambala, and then we started training in Lahore. Later on, we shifted from Lahore to getting our wings and everything, and then we went to Postpost Command, flying on anti-submarine patrols, you know. Can you hear me now?
Yes, very clearly, and it's very good. He started from Ambala, then he went to
And
Lahore.
after that, then we had old aircraft. I actually fly property and audits and everything, and then Atlantas, which were taken over by Indian Air Force. They converted into a tractor at the back and put bombs in here. And we used to fly them for this aircraft. We used to fly from to Africa to India long time ago, 4-engine aircraft. So first we trained as fighter pilots, then we trained on with the heavy ones here, like that, you know. But we carried on until this job was taken over by BOSC, by Royal Air Force, and we went and formed Hurricane Squadron in the North Frontier, where we formed number 6 Squadron, and we started operating all over the place, and eventually went to Burma. And after Burma, I went back to the Frontier. I had some meetings as a job, which I can to tell you of the detail, but if you can hear me rather than I could tell you that.
And we can see you also now.
That's very great. Now we are able to see you video.
We can see you also. So that was lovely. And how was your experience serving under the British government then?
The government activities was doing, particularly Royal Air Force, for main thing, training, our instructors, we came from the Royal Air Force. We were but we wanted good aircraft to fly, and the Hurricanes, and then eventually we carried on what we got.
Yes.
Burma, Command, and other places like that. And then when I got to, afterward I got to Australia, and my squadron went to Japan occupation force. And I stayed there for as long as required.
That's lovely. And what inspired you later to start the Majeetia airline? You had bought 2 Beechcrafts and you started a little airline at that time?
After that Air Force, they came back from the left Air Force. The war and it was a selling of their own aircraft, L5s, which they were operating in the public areas. So I started doing that. I had the pilot's license already before, so I had no problem to get this thing ready and I used to fly to Calcutta and all the places like that with those 2 aircrafts, sometimes this one from the other. Later on, changed over to the Beechcraft, Beech After Beech Melinda, I landed in Kathmandu that time, I think, that aircraft. And then went to Twin Beach, the 18S, Triple engine aircraft, which is very large, solid aircraft, very bigger. And after a while, we get on and we had family, and so we decided to separate this thing. And that time I left the flying, because you can't keep on flying like that unless you go to some company to back you up or something like that.
That's lovely. And when you started your career in the 1940s, were there any women pilots that you knew of? Were there any women flying then?
I started my career immediately after our government college in Lahore. I did my BA, and after that, I was, as I said before, that was permission to admission in Cambridge, but the war broke out, so I went to the Air Force.
Now, so now there are many women pilots we have in India and globally. What is your opinion on women pilots? What do you have?
I'm very excited. I think it's very good, very excellent idea. See, we are dropped in here for the last 6 months, and I spend my time mostly looking at these on the TV about these girls flying, and especially about these freighter pilots. I remember a German couple, 2 girls, they did a huge aircraft, and the way they sit and fly, it's amazing. They're so casual about the whole thing, and they keep up flying up. I've seen them fly from Bombay to Hong Kong and things like that. And it's very interesting. I spend a lot of time looking at all this. And a lot of girls in Europe, especially now, flying as commercial pilot and also for individual public pilots. Beautiful. Our girls in India, especially the Air Force, they're doing so well.
That's right.
I hope they'll continue when they get questioned aircraft and carry on like that.
So, any memory that you would like to share us of midnight of 15th August 1947? Do you remember where you were on that fateful day?
In 47, I was back in Simla. In 47, when this, we had the independence speech of Prime Minister Nehru, and I heard that very well, and we thought we changed. It did come, it is more than the premise is there, but we are so glad that we are independent. And we look for it of every year.
And that's an amazing memory. Who could fly today?
And
Aircraft.
I also,
I'm sorry?
because they cost, so I'm not going out anywhere else. Also look at a degree college in Kuching, and paid there. And I spent a lot of time there and very good salary that they paid me at Sugar Factory and other businesses. As far as flying is concerned, I started in Gorakhpur with the L5s, then I went to the Bonanza, then I went to Twin Beach, and it's the same. The airfield which is there is made in our farm. They took over our 700 acres of land, and the present Air Force Station is there.
And that's right. So if you could fly an aircraft now, which aircraft would you like to fly? If you have a choice to fly an aircraft today, which aircraft would you like to fly?
Well, it's long job. We call it that's the options that we know about. Because following certain age and everything, you're not allowed to take flat unless.
And that's
What I love
yeah, okay. Can you still hear me?
Huh?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
So, do you recall any challenge that you faced during a flight of yours while you were flying? Any particular incidents that comes to mind?
Variations take place during the time. I particularly when I left the airport, went to every march we spot to the parts, and I and Dr. and my sister we daily, I remember at that time, and the possibilities for trip. And after we finished the trip there and back, and I took the carriage and I was wrong. I thought there was a draw. So I said, from doctor, no, felt it wrong. So I flew on to Lucknow, and I told them that I'll fly very low in front and tell me it's okay. So they left me coming down. So that problem, okay, so we tried took her up to 7 feet, and we had a child and my sister-in-law the back. And that's who we got around a bit. And eventually came down to me, and I told them, I said, let me know what my undercarriage position is. And they said, your undercarriage is down, but your nose wheel is dangling. I said, not clear. So I asked them to firefighter, and it was on the upper ship, and I landed on the ship there, and I think it was okay when we went up, come down, and I took money and baby, but all the aid had come with this with the tender and there was yesterday. So I got off and broken. And I was with that was the big maintenance airport in Park Kanpur. I did this thing in my personal thing. I knew him and he was 5 years ago. And I told him it was happening. And he said, don't worry, leave everything to me and I'll so left the aircraft there and went to took the to
I think he got disconnected, Rupan.
Hanji, I think so too. The connection.
Don't log off. We'll ask you also a few questions.
He's back.
Rupu, do you want to take it on from me now? And if there are any questions by the audience that you would like?
No, Squadron Leader Majeethia is back.
I'll ask few things to Gunjan. I'm very curious to know a few things from her, and then in the end we'll open the floor for the audience to ask questions. Gunjan, did you always want to become a pilot? And how did you dream of this? And how did you work towards getting this?
Yes, I think from my very, very early days, I mean, the earliest memories that I have is that the open blue skies is something that really always fascinated me, and just the idea of being in the open blue skies was something that always was there in my mind, and it was something that I always found very fascinating. And I think I was just about 6-7 years old is when I the first time that I got into a civil airliner, got to travel in that, and I was very fortunate that I could get into the cockpit. Those days, the situation was slightly different, so they could at times allow the passengers to just take a peep into the cockpit. And I was very fortunate that I got to do that, and I think that is the first memory that I have in my mind, and it is still so clear with me. Just those open blue skies in front of me. So I think that is what had that major impact on me, and that is where I think my dream of being a pilot started. And after that, I think I was very focused on it throughout, and worked towards it through my childhood. And after that, I think Air Force was an option which just came very well timed with me as I was finishing my graduation.
All right. You've actually flown during the Kargil
Yes.
time. Can you let us know how was your experience during that time?
Your audio just went off. Can you repeat the last part of your question?
I said, could you just talk about Kargil when you were flying? I think the audience would really like to know that.
Kargil, I think it was, as I said, for personally, I mean, I had flown in that terrain before, in that area before, because I was posted at Udhampur and Srinagar and the area around, that is Kargil and that valley that came under our area of operation. So I had done a couple of sorties in that terrain and that area. So that wasn't something new to me. But yes, when I went there during the Kargil operations, the terrain was same, but the situation was so different. So it was, a very new thing for me. I was very, very young in service at that time, just had about 3 years of service with me. So not that I had seen anything of, anything of that sort earlier. So it was a big learning value for me. I think every day there that I was there during the Kargil operations, I got to learn something new. Because what really came as a big learning for me there was that in actual operations things happen very differently from what you see in peacetime. And also what really came forward for me was that how what we were taught in training, sometimes, when we were put under situations of stress, or when we had to meet too many deadlines at the same time. So that kind of pressure, to work under pressure, we were taught during our training, and how that helped me when I had to operate during the Kargil operation. So I think it was a big, big learning value for me. And it just helped me grow as a professional and as an individual.
Gunjan, how did the troops react to the women pilots and officers? Did they treat you any different from the men officers there?
Uh, the troops, for them, it was a big change. I mean, not only for the troops, for everybody at that time, because I was from the initial few batches. And when I got posted to Udhampur, I was, me and one of my postmates, Shivya, we were the first women pilots to be posted to that operational unit. So for everybody out there, it was a very, very big change. So they had their set of apprehensions, because it was something very new, very different, and we are talking about time 20 years back, 20 years plus back. So that time, the society and the environment around wasn't how do I say, wasn't very ready, or it wasn't a very familiar thing for them to see. So yes, it took some time for them to adjust to having us around, and for us also to understand that how different it is to work when you are in the defense and in a defense setup. But I think what was really positive out of this journey of mine is that what I got to learn is that if you have the potential, you have the skill, and that potential and skill, it comes through good training, equal training that we get in the Air Force. And after that, if you are able to do your job well, the opportunities are there for you. It is there. It is just, how you look at it. It's your perspective which helps you, your positive outlook which helps you, because the opportunities are there for you. The organization as such, the Air Force, I would say, was ready to give us that, opportunities to prove our potential, and that really came in as a very positive thing, actually.
You've actually carved a way for the younger generation to come, Gunjan. Really, kudos to you for that. Do you think that with time things have changed for women pilots in Air Force from your days to now?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. They have changed. They've changed tremendously and very, very positively. I mean, in terms of both the infrastructure and the mindset of the people, and the organization as a whole, I think has grown very positively and in a very accepting manner for women officers, and especially I would say in the flying branch, because had it not been like that, I think we don't need anybody to say it. It's out there for us to see that today Air Force has so many women pilots, and they have opened the fighter stream as well for the women officers. So it was, I would say, a very mutual understanding. The women officers did well, the women pilots did well, the organization did equally for accepting them, to give them those opportunities, give them that kind of exceptional training, I would say, what we get, what is given to the Air Force pilots. So all that just came together, and today we are in a much better situation, I would say. And what I also want to say is that this process is still not over. We are still moving forward in the right direction.
That's exactly what Women in Aviation is also working towards. We are trying to make it accessible to the new younger generations as well. Can you recount some unique experience during your entire tenure, something that you can share with the audience?
I was a little short in height as compared to my other, even the women who were there with me, my peer group. So a lot of times people used to have this doubt in mind, because somehow, there's an impression that your physical strength, somebody who's really strong and tall and well built is somebody, you associate with a task like flying an aircraft and getting airborne. So a lot of times people used to say, "Itni choti si ladki hai, how would she fly an aircraft?" So I think that was something I used to feel ki you don't need that kind of physical strength to fly an aircraft. What you need more is skill. So I think that was something very interesting, and I just loved that look on people's face when they saw कि एक छोटी सी लड़की एयरक्राफ्ट में से बाहर आ रही है हवाई जहाज उड़ा के. So that was something really interesting.
But they didn't know actually. I think good things come in small packages. You proved that saying. Yeah. Would you also like to ask some questions to Maditya? He's still there with us right now.
Yes,
He's a veteran. He's a
absolutely,
senior.
absolutely.
Yeah. Anything that you would like to ask him, sir? Gunjan is very eager to ask you a couple of questions.
Certainly, if I could continue.
His connection is a little poor, but we can still make out what he talks. Yeah.
Can I say my question?
Yeah, sure. Please go ahead.
Sir, a very good evening, and I think it's an absolute honor for me and a lifetime opportunity that I'm getting to speak to a legend like you. And my question might seem a little paradoxical because we are talking about a different era, but I'm really curious to know that during your times, did this idea of having women flying in the Air Force, was it there in any way, whether at the organizational level or in the crew room talks? I would just like to know that.
And no
It is a very poor connection today.
Rupan, can you take the answer on phone and then replay it?
Call him and talk to him. Take this.
Yeah. Gunjan, another question that we're all very curious to know. You're a pilot. You've had an exemplary track record. You went for awards like Kadir. How were you managing? What is your mantra for work-life balance? Your family time, your work. What do you do to keep yourself calm and focused?
I think my mantra for life has been life in general has been one is there is no shortcut to hard work, other than to short work. It's just pure hard work and determination and focus that gets you anywhere, irrespective of the profession that you are in. And I think managing work and life balance, how I would say, is that when you are working, your focus should be 100% on work, and when you are out of your profession, you should be 100% concentrating on your life. So one thing at a time, and when you are in one situation, your 100% is just there. That's how I think I would like to put it.
Thank you. Any message that you want to give to the younger lot, especially the girls that are logged in today? Any message?
Yes, my message to them is that I'm really not somebody who can give a mantra or somebody. I think not so qualified. But yes, what I do want to tell them is that don't go into any profession. At least that's what worked for me. Don't go into a profession just trying to prove something to somebody else. It needs to be your own passion, your own dream, and pursue that because. And it should be absolutely irrespective of what their profession is. There's no profession which is good or bad, big or small. It's just a profession, and if you are able to do your job well, you will shine irrespective of where you are. And at the same time, a very small piece of advice is that again, as I said, wherever you are, whichever profession, please don't ask for any concessions based on your gender because
Absolutely.
yeah, because see, like I've been in the defense, so if I'm wearing the same uniform, putting on the same rank, and everything is there same, then there is absolutely no question that at any given time I would get my gender and say that this is something that I can't do or I should be given a concession. So you just
Absolutely.
have. Yes.
Thank you for sharing that today. And I'm so glad that we have you as one of our mentors for women in aviation. I hope with time this we get out of this pandemic and we go back to the new normal life
Yes.
and we are able to meet the young girls. I'm able to go back to my office and to the airports that I visited and encourage the younger girls. And I would, the next time I would like that you also come with me and talk to them as well. Rupam, is sir able to answer the question that Gunjan had asked? Rupam, are you there? I think they're still trying to figure out a way. I think this is that, yeah. Yeah, Rupam, I was just waiting for you.
I can't hear you. Can you hear me, Nupur?
Yes, yes, I can hear you very clearly.
I'm sorry, this seems to be.
Were you able to hear Gunjan before me, or is it just my connection? Rupam, you're on mute now.
आप कितने से हो गए? तो हो गए 8 के 8 हो गए आपको 8 कितना मिला
Hi, Nupur. Something's wrong. I can't hear you.
Okay, on behalf of Women in Aviation International India Chapter, I would like to thank Mr. Majitia for taking out the time. So we are delighted that you could speak to the younger generation today. Your words of wisdom mean a lot to us, and hopefully we'll be able to do this again once COVID is over, maybe in person with you. Thank you, Gunjan, for being with us today. The Wi-Fi and the internet, the technology has been really poor today, and I hope that we don't have to use these platforms for a longer time, and we go back to the new normal and meet in person and do these events. Thank you for joining in. Enjoy the rest of the evening.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you once again, everybody. Rupan.
So, you have seen how the technology comes in the way. Thanks to Radha Bhatia, thanks to Rupan Sidhu. Rupan Sidhu and Nupar both made all the effort to keep the communication alive as much as possible. They were trying to get insight from squadron leader Majitia. You have seen the video. Few observations which I made. Look at the age 100 plus and his memory as fresh as it could have been, as it is required to be rather. And she asked about the incident 1947. He immediately remembered that he was in Shimla at that time. Then when she asked how you started aviation, he knew everything, that he had started from Ambala, then he had gone to Lahore. Every nitty-gritties of his life, his style, he was very much attentive, and even up till the end he was making all efforts that he is connected. And when everybody had left all hopes that he is disconnected and then he is not listening, but when it come to thank you, he said thank you. So it means that he was always very attentive. That's very good of him. And then look at his learning from his life. When she asked that what about sir when you bought the aircraft and you wanted to start an airline, he very well narrated the instance about that, though we are not able to understand fully well out of that. But then that shows that his agility towards response was very great. It's something worth learning. And then similarly, when she asked Nupur, sir, what aircraft would you like to fly today? So he never said, no, I cannot fly, the age is a barrier. No, he just mentioned, yes, okay, that he wants to get an opportunity, he wants to do that. So this is something worth learning. And then coming to Gunjan Saxena, she also is a very good role model for women as well as for other children also. The way she mentioned that a small visit to the cockpit induced her to take the carrier as a flight. You look at that, one simple visit of her to the cockpit has given nation a fine fighter pilot. Now, what are we doing nowadays? We are keeping our children away from these technology giants. We are not giving exposure because of some safety concern, security concern. We must give them all opportunity so that they can get temptation to take on such carriers. That's another learning. And above all, she said size doesn't matter. It's very good. The size doesn't matter, skill matters. So with this, we thank everybody, and overall it was a very good gathering of people. We know that technology was not in our favor, but still thank you very much, and I am sure everybody will look into the video once again. Thank you.